As we move forward, we are moving on to the next panel discussion, and this is again going to be another round of lot of discussions with a lot of learnings and practical exposure to how we can actually contribute towards sustainability. So I want to thank all once again the previous panelists for an engaging and informative discussion, and I'm sure that we all would benefit from it. Our second panel is equally impressive, and the topic is equally critical and urgent. How do you tell the story of your ESG and corporate social responsibility in a way that both elevates your brand and avoids the devastating reputational risk of being accused of greenwashing and also greenwashing your commitments. Every single day we see stories about what happens when things go wrong. Let's talk about how we can make sure that we do it right now. With us today, to help us navigate this discussion in our panel moderator, with us we have Shri Shreyans Dholakia, the entrepreneur and brand custodian with SRK. May I request Shri Shreyans to kindly come forward on the stage as he would be moderating the event today. Welcome, sir. I would also like to welcome Shri Arun Misra ji, CEO and whole-time Director of Hindustan Zinc, that's the Vedanta Group. I invite him to kindly come forward on the stage. May I also take the honor to invite Professor Haritha Saranga from Indian Institute of Management-Bangalore. Madam Haritha, we are honored to have you with us today. A hearty warm welcome. I also request Shri Ravi Agrawal ji, who's the Managing Director of Gencrest, to kindly come forward. It's such a pleasure to have you, sir. Welcome to the panel discussion. May I take the honor to invite Shri Mohalbhai, the founder and CEO of Matter Group. Welcome, sir. You would all be curious to learn more about this amazing panel who would be sharing their thoughts with us. Let us have a quick round of videos to learn more about their amazing work and the contribution that they are doing to the society and the community.
An industry veteran with over 3 decades of experience, Mr. Arun Misra has transformed Hindustan Zinc Limited into a leading producer of zinc and lead in India. He is known for his leadership and management skills in companies including Tata Steel and Vedanta Resources and holds several prestigious awards. Please welcome Arun Misra, CEO and whole-time Director, Hindustan Zinc, Vedanta Group.
I would request Director Dholakia to kindly come forward and welcome our guest with a bouquet.
Dr. Saranga has published several articles and co-authored Reliability and Six Sigma. Dr. Saranga is known for her engaging teaching style and has won several teaching awards. Her work in production and operations management focuses on quality, productivity, and sustainability in various supply chains, including agriculture, automotive, pharmaceuticals, and healthcare. Please welcome Professor Haritha Saranga, Indian Institute of Management-Bangalore.
I request Tej Dholakia to kindly come forward and felicitate Madam. Caution.
Mr. Ravi Agrawal has taken Gencrest to new heights in supply chain and logistics services under his capable leadership. He is responsible for its successful expansion of operations across India and for establishing Gencrest as a trusted partner across industries. He is passionate about promoting and mentoring new businesses such as energy, mining, biotech, and information technology. Please welcome Ravi Agrawal, Managing Director, Gencrest.
Such a pleasure to have you, sir. May I request Rahul Dholakia to kindly come forward to felicitate, sir. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Mohalbhai is known for his acute business acumen and ability to build and manage high-performing teams. He has successfully led Matter towards greater awareness and adoption of sustainable electric technologies that includes India's first geared electric motorcycle and development of new-gen lithium-ion cell technology. Mr. Lalbhai is committed to driving innovation in the electric technology sector for a more sustainable future in India. Please welcome Mohal Lalbhai, founder and CEO of Matter Group.
I request Neerav Narola to kindly come forward and felicitate Mohalbhai. And the floor is now yours, Shreyans Bhai. We look forward to this amazing interaction.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I hope it's you all had a good lunch. Hello? Are you guys listening? Good. So, welcome you all on the dais, and thank you very much for my first of its kind SRK conclave that you all, sustainability conclave that you all been here. Throughout the day, we all are together. Myself, Shreyans Dholakia, I'm a brand custodian of Sri Ramakrishna Export. What is brand custodian according to you? Anybody? What is brand custodian? Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. So if we combine two words, brand and custodian, that's what one of the two of the executives spoke, is that of course what we believe in is the SRK is a brand in diamond and jewelry sector across the world. And with this brand, that also comes with responsibility and the legacy that we have. So being in a multi-generation business, it is not going to stop here, where I can call owner of the company. So I am attaching myself with the company only limited to being a custodian of the company until the period I am acting in the company. So I was given this company's charges by my elder generation, and I have to make sure that I pass on the reins of this company in a better way to the next generation of the family. So that's what brand custodian means to me. And I hope that makes sense. And now when I call myself Shreyans Dholakia, brand custodian of SRK, which means we are talking about multi-generational SRK family business into diamond, jewelry, and much more fields to come into place. Thank you. That was exactly the topic for today. I would have rather simply said to you, Shreyans Dholakia, and I have started my conversation. But I went into the depth of brand custodian was the base of my storytelling to you and to explain what storytelling means. And that is with the context of what our conversation is going to be today with all the panel members here. So thank you all that you all are here with me. How many of you believe that brainwashing is very much prevailing in this industry or in the world, and you have been at least once brainwashed by somebody in your life? How many of you believe that you have been brainwashed by somebody in your life? Right? So that's what it is. So it's both the ways of storytelling. The way I told you, what if none of the things that I told you about brand custodian and about Shreyans Dholakia's existence today was true? What would it then be? You would still believe it, because my way of telling you was so factual and so, one statement that you believed it. That is exactly what brainwashing is. And today we are going to also touch upon what is storytelling, along with it being in a sustainability conclave. There is a lot of greenwashing that is happening, not brainwashing, but greenwashing. So I think in a previous panel also, sir touched upon the word called greenwashing. So we'll be touching upon that as well. Telling our own story is very important, of course. And storytelling can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It can be through watching a video, seeing a YouTube video, a television show, advertisement, or it can be coming through a social media post as well. But my first question is to our most senior person here, Mr. Arunji. What does storytelling look like in your company? What kind of stories do you tell to your people, to the customers outside, and where are they told? How are they told?
Okay, so storytelling is, you have to first define what's the purpose of storytelling. My organization is some 3,000 odd executives and 25,000 workers. So as a CEO, whatever I want to do, unless I'm able to communicate to the last person in the line, the organization will not move. If I ask the same question that you asked, how many people have experienced brainwashing, I would first ask how many people are married and how many are unmarried. Next question is easy. So storytelling is a way you connect with the people so that automatically you extract response from them. The moment you get a response the way I got it now, so they have understood what I wanted to say. I don't have to explain. So in case of Hindustan Zinc, I'll just give a brief what happened. During COVID, all of us were locked up. I had just come to the organization. My family was in Bhubaneswar. I was living alone in the guest house and completely locked up, and we were all operating online. So only way we thought that let us try to imagine what will happen once. We didn't know when COVID will be over, how many days lockdown will be there. None of us knew. But we tried to do a dream kind of a thing that, okay, let's write down on a board what will happen to the world if the COVID were to be over and if there were no lockdown tomorrow. How people would go about. One conclusion that we drew after writing lot many options, that world will be more environmentally conscious and everybody would love to live in a world where there are no pollution, and people equated pollution to COVID. Because initially in the WhatsApp you saw the messages from Delhi, Himalaya is visible, from this place that is visible, because people equated. And we said that now is the time we must write down for ourselves what will be our sustainability goals for 2025, and to achieve that, what do we do from every year? And then take that story to the people. If I tell people that as a CEO, I have this vision, nobody would believe. But if I say in the COVID we were locked down and we were spending time and discussing and we came to this, then that story is compelling story. Then you listen to that and then you say, okay, these visions are not a handed down vision from CEO. This is something that came out of adversity. At the end of the day, the society loves rags to riches story, adversity to success story, not the opposite way. So anything that you want to communicate, if you give a touch of rags to riches, adversity to success, struggle to success, then people lap it up, because in the pyramid, most of the people are facing adversity. Less number of people who are fortunate. So more number of people will be on your side when you talk of the story of adversity, and that is how you communicate in an organization.
Right, so you mean to say we have to take people along the journey.
Absolutely.
Right, and he rightly said the different meaning of what is storytelling. Just by saying few words, everything can be communicated. Just in the today's entire session, the first session, we learned a lot about the sustainability is not just about doing yourself, but also doing for someone else, caring for people, collaborations. My father always teaches us, and as a whole group to us, as a family, that we have to work hard, do much more for the people around us, and be a responsible citizen while we are here on this Mother Earth. So SRK always takes pride itself on being a socially responsible company. And what we call in-house is that beyond diamonds, because of course, you all know, we are into diamond business, diamond and jewelry, but beyond diamond is something that we have to look for, and we don't call it CSR, socially responsible, because it's our service beyond diamonds. And now along with ESG as well, where it's just not the bottom line just matter, but it is a fact that we have to do ESG, social work, everything. So Ravi Bhai, my next question to you is, how do you tell your brand story to the consumers, can understand why you are making certain efforts and how it impacts them in a positive way, your customers? have you discovered any positive correlations between your ESG and your corporate social responsibility stories?
So, as a group, sustainability has been the bedrock, it has been the basis of our formation. And so whether it is our solar power, biotech, nanotech, bioinformatics, so everywhere we first think about sustainability, that whether this business would be contributing positively, and then we have decided to enter the business, including our mining venture. So we are in initial stages, but the thought process which went in was similar. We have a large foundation, and I'm very proud to say that our foundation team is the biggest team right now, which works in the entire tribal areas of Maharashtra. And whenever we go out, interact with people, interact with our customers, our thought process has always been that we talk about our achievements, what we are doing. So in our biotech project, we are basically taking the banana waste, banana stem from the farmers. We extract fiber out of that. We take the sap. We make biofertilizers. With pulp, we are making solid fertilizers, animal feed. And ultimately, nothing goes out of the plant. So, so our actual solid discharge is zero. When we go to our clients, this is really a conversation starter and a door opener, for sure. The response has been very, very positive. Over the last 2 years, we have gone through many iterations in the product. We have launched the product. It has been taken up very successfully. At this point of time, we are interacting with the biggest textile brands in the country who are taking trials on banana fiber. And this project is going to be the largest project which is going to be vertically integrated. The impact of this, when we convince, is that currently the farmer spends 15,000 to 20,000 rupees per acre to cut the stems and dump it in one part of the farm. We actually pay the farmer about 20 rupees per stem and collect the stems and process it. So instead of losing 15,000 rupees, we are in fact paying them money, which goes directly in their pocket. These kind of stories are very effective when we go and interact with our customers, and the response has been very positive. And I also echo Arunji's thought process that first we have to convince our team members. So this story has to be told to our team members, and they have to be convinced to be able to go and talk to other people. So we do ensure that all our team members participate in this. We train them. We also ask them to go on a field visit to our foundation to understand each and every aspect that we do, and ensure that they have understood what is the thought process at the top, and ensure that when they are on the field, they are humble enough to know that what is the ground reality, and then they go and approach, so that the mindset is not of one up, but as a partner, and to understand that you're there for the environment and for the people, and be with the farmer.
Ravi Bhai rightly mentioned, we also follow similar at SRK, where, of course, after doing so much in ESG and corporate social responsibility side, our sales team, we send them to our foundation, SRK Knowledge Foundation's office. For 2 days of training, we have done that, and we taught them, we make them set on the field. Various activities we do throughout the year, be it a medical camp, any other activities, various awards, any educational trips. We take our sales team there as well, so they can learn what exactly on ground our other part of the companies, because it's all one family. And as Ravi Bhai was mentioning, believe me, even customers have bigger faith in your company if you attach both the stories together. So you rightly mentioned, Ravi Bhai. And today, so one of the other biggest issue is about greenwashing, as we are talking about. And with the greenwashing, many companies are trying to take positive benefit out of for their product, for their service, for their company. So my next question is to you, Mohalbhai. Your organization has been recognized for the sustainability achievements and respected. You are one of the leaders in the green motorbikes that you recently launched. First of all, congratulations for the India's first e-bike that you launched. And and you being from that space, you communicating all your strategies, your approach towards ESG and sustainability. What message do you try to communicate when you tell your brand story?
Okay. So I think the first thing about communicating a brand story is to really have a purpose that makes sense all across. And going green is not necessarily cheap. Let me make that very clear to everyone here today that it is not necessarily cheap. And everyone has some part to play in the journey, be it at an individual level, at an organizational level, at a societal level. And one of the means, I wouldn't say the only means, is how do we introduce products and technologies which actually save money for the consumers? And again, electric vehicles, not necessarily cars or larger vehicles, but for two-wheelers and commercial applications, it does make sense today. So once you're looking at electric vehicles and you're really bringing down the cost of ownership significantly, this newfound available pool of capital is something that can really be repurposed back to environmental targets. And that's how you're really looking at societal and environmental benefits coming at the same time. When you have more disposable income available in the country and you have now that opportunity to tap into the environmental side. But coming back to the idea of greenwashing is that when we're communicating to the end consumer, the most important piece, and again, when you're talking about climate and you're talking about the environment, is to show real action. The consumer is supposed to be in the center of the story and not the organization. Whatever we are doing is we are providing a product or a service for them. So once the consumer is at the center of the story and the consumer has tried it out, whatever marketing a single company can do, word of mouth is always going to do better. So if the consumers start talking about your product and the change it's created, I think everything else that as an organization we do is secondary. I mean, as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the first piece you take. So what we at Matter strongly believe is while we have set our targets, while we have set our goals, while we believe we are doing things right, we do falter sometimes as well. I mean, there are business constraints which come in. But at the end of the day, we are honest in our communication. So the idea of greenwashing is something which is always going to hurt industries as a whole. I mean, it's going to become a reputational problem if greenwashing is allowed. And that's where people need to come up and speak out, be honest, be clear, keep the message simple. So that's what we have to say on that.
Right, Mohalbhai. So he very specifically said have to be customer in center and it has to be very simple. So I want to relate one of my personal stories where, because in our family, it's a rule where when we start post our graduation, when we start our training in diamond business, we have to go undergo 2 years of training in the factory. Just our rough diamond flows through the floor. We also goes to all the departments. So while I was working in a diamond polishing department, my guru, he was teaching me. He was one of the good teacher even in those days. I'm talking about 18 years ago. And he was chewing tobacco at that time, tamaku and gutka. So because I was there with him for a month, so we also discussed a lot of personal stories and family background and all. And while my training was about to end, I just told him that why do you chew all this tobacco and stuff like that? Because you know you one day going to get cancer and probably you lose your life and you have a daughter at your home. Don't you think like going back to her, playing with her, and even she respecting you in a different way? This was my very innocent words. I would not have meant what I mean today about these words. Uh, these words just came out of me because at home also we have this environment where my father and brothers and all discussing about how to not to chew tobacco and how to make our company tobacco free. In fact, today our company is tobacco free, and we tell them people that if you want to chew tobacco, then you have two options: either you continue chewing this, or you be in the company. So that's where our culture and philosophy is, and that's how I just told him this. And just recently, 3 years back, we made one of the largest stones, beautifully crafted and high value, high carat stone. And I was very fascinating to know who was actually crafting this stone. So I asked my cousins that, can you take me to this person? I want to meet him. I met him, and I completely forgot that even he was my guru that time. So I just randomly asked him a question that how can you, patiently polish such a high diamond? And he told me it's all because of you. I said, how? He said, 15 years back you told me to leave this tobacco. I did that, and today I am working very patiently, and I have no pressure, no time, nothing. So he said that today I can, and he was working this because when we have a performance-based system and we only allot a stone to somebody when his performance is like that. So his performance was a zero breakage in our stones while he is polishing a stone. So that was my question, that why you were zero breakage in, and he was like that it's because of no tobacco. So this is related to, being in storytelling. It is often that we have to be people-centric. Whenever you're telling a story, there should be a person in center, as you mentioned, a customer in center, or a people working for us. It helps others to even relate better with our story. Can you think of, this is open to all, anybody can answer. Can you think of any example of stories about the work you do that can be told from the angle of how it impacted an employee or the stakeholder directly, or with the person at the center? Just like my story. Anybody can.
Hello. A couple of stories that I can think of. At IIM Bangalore, when we started our sustainability journey, of course, we started way back around 2010. But we started taking it very seriously after COVID because of, all the reasons that we have been talking about since morning. So one of the things, we kind of did a recce of our institute, try to identify places where there is a lot of energy wastage that is happening. And one of the low-hanging fruit that we identified was getting people to switch off lights and switch off taps so that we can immediately reduce the energy while we are switching them over to motion sensor lights, because that itself was like a 3-month old project. So I said, as the Sustainability Task Force chairperson, I said, the easiest thing that I can do immediately instead of waiting for 3 months is create a poster where, I wrote some 5 bullet points talking about why you need to switch off lights, please switch off lights. Think of your home when you are, leaving the bathroom, because, at home we don't leave the switches on, right? Similarly, please switch off taps. Think of all the water that, poor people have to buy when it goes dry. And don't litter, don't waste paper, because think of all the trees that are being cut to make this paper. Things like that I wrote down. And we stuck it in all our restrooms. And then, I forgot all about it. I'm hoping that people are following it and there is some impact. Then one day, one person bumped into me, and she told me how guilty she feels every time she goes to the bathroom now because, she says that the bullet points are there and I read it and then I feel like all this while, how much energy I wasted. And she says, I got so inspired that I went home and I took a picture of it, I replicated it, and now I'm using it in all our building societies. And my son is working with his kids in the building society to kind of make them take stairs instead of lift, go bikes rather than asking parents to take cars out, things like that. So this was one story. I realized that when we start, it's a small step, but you don't know how it is going to impact others. That's what I learned from this story. The second thing that someone else came to me, we started actually, we recycle everything. People, we of course reduce, reuse, recycle. I take a lot of sessions for our students to kind of create this awareness, make them reduce, reuse. But definitely recycle is something I can do at home in our campus. So we actually started doing the recycling, and not just recycle, but also bring the products that are made out of the recycled waste that we generate into the campus. And I realized that also made a lot of impact because we started using tissue paper, which is recycled tissue paper, on our dining tables. And somebody came and told me that, look, last week we were in Europe, maybe Sweden, and we saw this kind of recycled tissue paper there, and we were admiring them. And then we come back to campus and we see the same tissue paper here, and then we realize that, right here at home, a lot of things are happening and we are not able to recognize. So this is something like, this is also a recycled, notepad made out of our own waste that we generate on our campus. So these kind of things, I think, create stories that people can talk about, and then when they go back, they try to emulate. That is how powerful stories are.
Good. Arun Misra.
I'll just go to another aspect of ESG. Normally people are more on environment, energy and all that. Is a very important part is the social part of it. In that social part, we wanted to increase our span of diversity. Typically, organizations go for diversity in gender terms. We wanted to include LGBTQ community, and also we wanted to get as many transgenders to get jobs as possible. Saying that, I started this journey in 2020 in a conservative society like in places in Udaipur, to prepare the society to accept LGBTQ community, to prepare the society in the office where you will have transgender executives. You will have a male body who is a female from inside. You will have a male executive who would come with lipstick and nail polishes to office, or a female who is a male inside. So she would be dressing up as a male and coming to office. For that, you need a lot of preparation, emotional preparation of the people around, and to give them dwellings in the family quarters. You have to prepare the families. What does your neighbor explain to the children, that whether she is an uncle or an auntie? So that, journey I have seen last 3 years. Today, I am happy in a situation. We have about 4 or 5 executives who are transgenders. We have got workers now, especially drivers, forklift operators who are transgenders. We have got security guards, like security guard in my house is a transgender. And we are happy that we have created an opening for them under this platform of sustainable development goals. Because that is also an important part we should not be underscoring in the journey of ESG.
Good. Any personal stories that you want to share?
So, in our foundation, again on the social side, we work with all the prisons in Maharashtra. So there are about 45 central and state prisons. And so we started with cataract operations outside. And then one day in our hometown of Aurangabad, we came in contact with the jail superintendent there. They invited us to visit the prisons. And they told us to start working in the prisons, doing eye camps, doing skin camps. The initial thought process was of resistance, because obviously the mental thought process is that these are criminals. And there was a resistance. I think even I was party to it when my family was discussing. But then it was my dad who told us that even they are human beings. And yes, if there is a problem there, we need to address that, because generally nobody is addressing it. So I think since last 7 years, we started expanding. We work in all prisons of Maharashtra. We provide skin care, including treatment. We provide eye care, including giving spectacles. We try and take them out for surgeries, but there is a long process. We don't get involved in transporting of the prisoners. We can't. But we try and arrange everything, facilitate so that they get treated. We have provided sporting equipment. We have provided libraries. We have provided first computer lab in Nasik Central Prison. And the curriculum has been designed with IIT Mumbai. And curriculum has been designed with a way that they need to learn. So as soon as they step out, they need to have job opportunities. Also, they need to learn so that, or they need to keep engaged so that the internal tension what is there, whatever they may be going through, whatever crime they may have committed, obviously they are repenting. So that needs to be reduced. So based on that, we have consulted and we have designed the curriculum. And after clearing certain exams, they do get certificate from IIT Mumbai as well. So this was very different approach that we have taken to the social side, because we've realized that this is missing completely in prisons. The benefits what we have seen is that few people, the first batch or few prisoners who got released, they now have jobs. What we understand from the prison authorities is that the number of incidents of infighting between prisoners has reduced, because they have got many activities to do within. I don't know if you're aware that if there is a fight between prisoners or prisoners and guards, the sentence gets increased. So first instance, it could be 1 month extra. Second instance could be 3 months extra. So that cycle continues. So what we are effectively trying to do is cut that down. And our prisons are severely overcrowded. So unless we bring that burden down, we realize that that cycle is going to continue. As taxpayers, all of us, each month we are paying 5,000 rupees for a prisoner to be inside. And it doesn't make sense, because if for petty things they are inside, it is us who are losing. So with a small help, we are trying to change the social structure.
Wow, amazing. So by this, from a personal storytelling, being a person in the center, what Ravi Bhai was mentioning is about a corporate experience, where if you have done any corporate social responsibility and you, through that CSR activity, you have faced any good story, that also then you can share along, just not being a person, but or even a company story. Mohalbhai.
Sure. I mean, we are a startup. We've not reached that maturity yet. But talking about, so couple of things which we faced early on in our journey when we started was, most people did not believe you could do core technology in India. That is it's a concept which is very well entrenched. I mean, if you need toasters and ovens, you go to the Japanese or you go European. That's been historically the idea. And when we started Matter back in 2019, India is one of the largest hubs for automotive engineering in the world. I mean, engineers sitting in India are doing work for people in Germany or in the US or Japan or wherever. And we realized that the talent is available here. It's just that there's nobody to bring them together, give them the confidence and give that opportunity to run. because everyone's a domain expert in their own field, but maybe they've never come together and put things together to make a single product. And I think at that point in time, we realized that it doesn't matter where you sit in the hierarchy. If your final objective, and at least for us it is one product, was very clear, it is very easy to get alignment of people done on that. And I mean, today at Matter, we actually do not have cabins. It is one large open floor space, and that's where we all sit. So, and sometimes you might not even get your seat because somebody is busy working on a different project with somebody. But what that has done is that in the span of 3-4 months, you're actually ending up meeting everyone you're working with. That empathy which is there to your fellow worker is so important to the success of an organization, which is most times overlooked. I mean, we all sit in silos, I mean, in offices and cabins, and it's all paperwork. But when empathy is not there, you know, the organization is never able to achieve its targets with the energy and the vigor that it should. So that's something that we've seen, that once you open up the floor spaces, when you break down that concepts of hierarchy, I mean, yes, there are responsibilities which are assigned to people, but that does not necessarily mean your idea or conversation is superior. That is participatory, yes, you're responsible. So that's the, I believe, the modern way of now looking at how hierarchies and office structures are going to be evolving as well.
You want to share any corporate story?
On the CSR side?
Yeah.
So on the CSR side in the corporate, you see, when I was in Tata Steel, we were setting up a mega steel plant in a place called Kalinganagar. And I was sent, that time Cyrus Mistry had taken over as a chairman, and the project, steel plant project was not moving. There were huge protests and work was not happening, everyday stoppage. That time I was sent there to resolve the disputes and sort it out. So first thing was, most of them were tribals, and I had to sit down with them almost every day evening, 4 or 5 hours. I used to go to their village and sit down with them, understand. And I found they taught me a lot of things about sustainability, which we don't learn in our traditional upper caste homes. Like they said, our way of living is we take from the nature only that much what we need. We don't kill animals in the forest or cut wood in the forest for making selling. Those who cut trees and sell, they are paid money by outsiders. Those who are businessmen, they pay the tribals money. You go there and cut tree for us so that we will sell outside. But they say for our living, we don't do beyond what we consume. Second, I learned from them in our kind of castes, typically higher caste culture and all that, Hinduism, when somebody dies, we cremate and the memory goes away. Or you have other cultures where people bury, but they bury in a different place. In the tribal culture, your person relation is buried in the house where you live. Because they say that after death also we live with them. We don't forget them. So every day morning when we eat, we offer food to them. Every day we remember them. We are not afraid of their ghosts. In our culture, we are afraid. Yes. Even if my father dies, my brother dies, I'm afraid of the ghost. That after that, the same person whom I loved, I'm now afraid of him. But in their culture, they are not afraid. They say, he is my brother living with me below the ground, I am above the ground. I say, what a teaching, and this something will remain with me forever. And I discovered that their societies had huge amount of sustainability built in. Perhaps it got spoiled when we brought so-called civilization from outside.
Right. Really new story. So I would also like to share one story on the corporate side, CSR. So my father, Govind Kaka, is very much passionate about helping people. I wouldn't say giving, but helping people. So 40 years, or roughly 40 years back, he started a center called Relief Center. Relief Center, the word itself means giving relief to somebody for whatever the problem is, be it education-related fees issue, medical issue, healthcare issues, or even family issues where husband and wife have some issues. Even he would solve that, give a relief to the mind. and maybe family issues where kids are not listening to the parents. So any this kind of counseling and relief he would give to people. In last 30, 40 years, more than 1.3 million people would have come and visited him. We have a team there. One fine experience that we had was we were free, and Rahulbhai is also sitting here. Rahulbhai and we all went with him that what do you do there? So we just went there to see what he does in the relief center. And as we were sitting there, one lady came and just tried to fell on his legs and started to call my father, you are a god and god figure and everything. So later we couldn't consume all this what was happening. Why would somebody call my father a god? Of course, helping is one thing, but not God. Nobody would consider as God. So then my father explained to us while we were in a car going to office that few months back, she had come to the relief center and she couldn't come because her husband has already died. She had 2 kids. They were, under 12 years of age. They couldn't do anything. So she was a vegetable seller. With that, her trolley, she would just walk 10 minutes, take a rest, walk 10 minutes, take rest. And she traveled for almost 2.5 hours in the morning to reach the school at 10 a.m. And then she spoke about her health, that I'm undergoing some treatment, I don't have money, and I need that money. And so we have a team, so we investigated the issue. We also have a medical team, so we consulted them. My father did all things that were needed, and his one rule was that we don't pay all the money. If 2 lakh were required, we don't pay all 2 lakh because there are many people who want to do it, but they don't have this homework to be done. So we do the homework, and once we give them, even out of 2 lakh requirement, if we give just 10,000 rupees, there are many other friendly foundations from our family, friends, and people we know. They are then ready to pay 2 lakh rupees. Because the homework is already done, they are authentic, they are true, in need. So with all this, after the story, the operation was done and she lived her life. She was back to the life, she was very healthy, and that's why she had come there to feel that, give respect to my father. So that one moment touched our heart, and it was like, until now what you have worked and given your time, because charity can be done in 2 ways. One is you write a check and it's done, whether it's millions or billions can be given in 1 minute. But when you want to give few million over a period of 40 years, it means you have to give billions worth of your time to that cause. And that is what my father has given. And that is what even we are learning from him. So when he has given so much time behind all this cause, now we feel it's all worth. Just with that one successful case, we feel our life is successful already. So that's what we all are discussing now. So that is what we were talking about CSR. Now, we all believe that we all have strategies, and we all want to be related with what we are, who we are. As a marketeer, SRK definitely would be known when we communicate that we follow our words, we are always, our events are on time. This is probably those who know us for the past few years have built that brand around SRK. That happens, so I have a personal definition of brand, of course, brand custodian, so I have to define it. Any brand, what is brand is that any consistent work done for a longer period of time is your own brand. So everybody, individuals, every company would have that brand of their own self. So ma'am, my question to you is that as we are on a concluding side of the forum or the panel, what advice would you give to marketers looking to elevate their brand when communicating their sustainability achievements and ESG strategies? What practice should they implement? What should they avoid? what strategies can they leverage to ensure the brand is known for transparency or authenticity? Because the background that you have is teaching students, then implementation, counseling. So I think you're the right person to do it.
Yeah, I mean, when we are talking about sustainability and in the world of greenwashing, it's a very pertinent question, how to do it. I will tell you based on my own experience, I think transparency is the most important bit here. Actually, understate, overperform, that's what I would say on the sustainability front. Just to give you an example, for example, we have solar rooftop installations in IIM Bangalore, which contributes to about, it used to about 15% of our total electricity use. So we don't say we are sustainable or we are so much negative in the carbon footprint, etc., etc. We state that 15% of our electricity comes from solar. Even though we have other installations, for example, water heating, right? We have about 2,000 odd inmates in the campus, including all the students, faculty, staff, etc. And most of their water gets heated by our solar water heater. This is in addition to the rooftop installations. But we don't measure it, how much energy we are saving through the solar water heating. So we don't include it. Because we want to be very clear, if you want data on what we are claiming, the data should be there. I think that is the most important part. You need to have the figures, you need to have the numbers. When you are claiming something, then somebody want to come and understand how you are saying what you are saying. Is it true? You should be able to prove that. So understate, overperform. That would be my advice. And also, you need to do your carbon footprinting. There is no two ways about it. I think all of us need to compute what our carbon footprint is. Today, we have all the information. We have the carbon calculators. I would say don't stay with scope 2, go to scope 3, because that's where the devil is, right? So you not only do your own emissions, but also you look at your supply chain and you compute to the extent possible. Right? For example, we obviously at educational institutions, service organizations, it's actually scope 3 is the biggest. So otherwise scope 2, scope 1 are only electricity and whatever, we are consuming. We don't create any emissions on the, on our campus other than the refrigerants. For example, this hotel I can see, they're creating a lot of carbon footprint through this air conditioning right now, but they don't understand. That is where the challenge is. How do you make people understand? How do you tell them to be honest about what we are doing? And how do you together create data, collect data, and make it available to everybody in the organization so that nobody is going and overselling what you are doing. And everybody needs to be on the same page, I would say. And that's the best way to stay honest. And once you stay honest, once you are able to prove what you're doing, then automatically people will understand that, you mean what you say, and the brand that you are talking about automatically will get built.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. And from the other three panelists, do you have any concluding statements?
I will add two more things. You can have a brand for a product. You can have a brand for an organization. To give you example, when you say Colgate, you primarily mean toothpaste. But when you say Gucci, you don't mean Gucci bag only. It means Gucci perfume, a lot of products. So be very careful in this. So when you say I am communicating on a brand which is primarily product, then you talk about the carbon footprint of the product. But when you are communicating on a brand which is primarily organization, then you talk about the ESG strategies of the organization. So the moment I say I am buying Gucci product, then I need to know what are the ESG strategies of Gucci. Do they take care of environment? But when I buy Colgate as a oral hygiene product, I will say for making this toothpaste 100 grams, how much CO2 emission has been there. So this difference is to be understood while communicating.
Right. Very well. Good definition.
One thing I could add is that everyone has to believe that it is their responsibility and not just use this as a marketing tool. Because if you believe it is your responsibility, then you will be truthful and not just overstate the facts just so that you are making short-term gain.
Not making the floor green.
Mohalbhai?
And just one thing here that the message needs to be kept very simple. If the messaging is complicated, because most ESG solutions are, it will get lost on the audience completely. So it is the job of the people communicating this to keep it very simple, very understandable, very tangible as a message. And once that is done, I think the rest of it is going to be falling into place anyway.
Right. So with this, we conclude this panel discussion, and thank you, Arunji, Haritha ji, Ravi Bhai, and Mohalbhai. In the discussion, we also learned from all four of you that we have to take people along the journey. And Ravi also mentioned about having bigger foundation team than many other admin teams. With his experience, what we learned is that we have to be on the ground while we are giving back and helping people. Sustainability doesn't come cheap. That's what you mentioned. It has to be, your storytelling has to be simple and louder. Ma'am, you also mentioned about kids with your story and with convincing them. Kids started to climb up the stairs rather than using the lifts. And your story on transgender occupying the office space was very inspirational for all the next generation of businesses that is going to come up. And thank you again very much for being here on the dais with me for the panel. Thank you all.